Hello dear friends, I'm glad to welcome everyone watching Sotnik-TV this moment. It's December 14th, 2019, 7 p.m. sharp Moscow time. I would like to begin the program with a story connecting A to B under this week's circumstances. That shows the true goal of those supporting Putin. Russian sports minister Alexander Kolobkov received Alexander Nevsky medal. He was awarded with that by a secret ordered by Putin, a secret one. There are two important points here. Sports murdered, as WADA has voted banning Russian athletes from Olympics and World Cups during the next 4 years. That means current Russian athletes banned forever. That's it. Sports age doesn't last long, and the second point is that the order was secret, so that no one knows. Let's summarize those 2 points. Those mean that sports minister Kolobkov had done a great job and was awarded for that. How else can you get an award? He did great. He was awarded secretly due to the secrecy of his task. That makes much sense. Neither athletes nor fans would support such task. No one would. Yet that was given by Putin, and that was completed. Russian sports thrown out of the world sports as a result of Mr. Kolobkov's activity. Well done, Kolobkov, here's your secret award. And the authorities will pull the wool over your eyes, talking about Russia's own Olympics and so on. They can sure set something up, but will snatch all the money, holding some Hunger Games for show, having fun competing with some cannibals from Zimbabwe. That will be it. According to composed heap flourishing, along with the negative growth in the rest of the fields, as well as to the amount of lies and disinformation put to the skulls of those spiritual Russians, the same tasks are given for the rest of the areas. To have Russia kicked out of everywhere, out of space, out of production, and out of business. To have it kicked out of science and healthcare, to ruin the hell out of it as soon as possible. Then it may be taken by China or by Japan, whoever wishes may take it. Who needs that permafrost with the population of frosted retards? That needs to be squeezed out, ruined and thrown away. Take a look at how rapid Siberia is getting bald. There won't be no woods there soon. There won't be no woods in Siberia, just a huge territory for waste and human trash. Those uneducated, ignorant, cruel, broke, wild and gravely ill. Some chisels with cancer, believing that the entire world is scared of them and hates trying to conquer them. Yet they would vote their own enemies, groaning, tolerating, spitting with blood. Their excuse is them being surrounded, not able to influence anything. The retirement age went up, the taxes went up, as well as the prices. But we will overcome that somehow. We saw wars during the war. Everything but the war. They don't want to know about the war that is on. The war in Ukraine, the bombing of Syria with children killed there with bombs and chemicals. They have interfered in Africa, but are still walking around hallucinating with that everything but the war idea of how great but unloved they are. Those are no one but psychos. Enemies reside in Kremlin, some real criminals. The state control has been captured. For 20 years on top of that vertical, a bald crook has been showing off, making faces. When needed, he plays the father of nation. When needed, he pretends a nuclear threat for the West, or just tells some frivolous joke for a night about an organ of a grandmother. Such a token dealer, a judge with an in-depth knowledge of the gang slang. Everyone below him in that vertical are his sidekicks. Sometimes they agree and sometimes they devour each other. I have received a letter from our viewer Alexei. I will quote almost in full. The topic is quite important. Dear Alexander, ironically, no one can formulate a straight and clear answer to an important question. What do we do? That means that your interviewers lack deeper moment understanding, as well as don't see the direction that would lead to any result. That is the conclusion I came to. I suppose that solving a question should always include three stages: in-depth reflection, identifying all factors involved, developing logical and interlinked sequencing from start to end point, and finally the implementation of the plan. I guess the first two stages make problems for many. Let's try constructing something alike from the example of an African country. Let's suppose a country on the Black Continent with the power taken by some evil and greedy people, pumping the local riches abroad and setting up some strict totalitarian regime in that country, supported by a massive military unit. What do we do? I'm sure that the best way to solve any problem is hitting the weakest point of a certain construction. That point is not some senseless crowd loitering with balloons and the rest of the latex products. So what is it then? What is the weakest point? You're right, it's the money, pumped away from those poor Africans. That makes their weakest point. All the fuss is about the money. Once the money is gone, the chief is gone as well. Yet, according to an old tradition, that money is kept in solid financial instruments in the countries of the First World, so the poor Africans can't reach that. And the regulators of those instruments only submit to the laws and the governments of those countries, but not to those Africans mentioned above from that no-good entity. Not even to the unions of those. Here comes the conclusion. Real progress upon that problem requires a structure able to communicate with the governments, whose jurisdictions include those financial instruments. What structure can allow itself such thing? You're right, some equal government can. That may not be really equal, but let's say a government in exile. Or, as a last resort, that may not be a government, but some African People's Salvation Committee. The most important for that structure is to get the acceptance of those states, to get a legitimacy and some influence. Is that possible? For some reason, some tribe word Guaido tells me it is. The problem of such structure-forming algorithm remains open, yet the IT technologies nowadays can simplify the solving process significantly. Alexei writes. I'm sure that several options are possible even in Africa. That's when such shadow government will be able to address their partners from the developed countries officially, saying, you're receiving that hot African money from those invaders secretly, pumping that into your financial schemes. You know well that such huge money wasn't earned by hard labor, that wasn't earned at all, as that was stolen. Yet you're taking all the advantage for yourselves, even though that belongs to the entire long-suffering people of Africa. Otherwise, the situation turns ambiguous. So, let's move towards justice together. You need to state your clear position regarding that matter. End of quote. Dear Alexei, I see your point. You ended your lengthy letter suggesting that such structure could solve many problems, such as developed countries' advisors as well as blacklisting certain companies and individuals, banning them from entry, arresting their property and bank accounts. It's strange that no one has come up with such idea, you say in the end. And that is the end of quote by Alexei finally. So I'm replying to that today on December 14th, 2019, 7:30 Moscow time. Dear Alexei, you'll be surprised, but I have suggested such plan around 9 to 11 months ago. That included the legitimation and the government in exile electing, as well as the People's Salvation Committee. It's the goal that matters here, not the name. You'll be surprised, But there's a structure making a so-called Putin list. The name is Free Russia Forum. They make the list of those bad people stealing and exporting, as well as promoting and fueling. There are many lists there. Those include an economical part, a political part, as well as judicial and mass media ones. They have many. All those lists are made, but that is not the thing. The thing is that there are no politicians in modern Russia. The last one was killed in the late February 2015 on Moskvoretsky Bridge. Whether he was good or bad, whether he was a conformist and were leaving the trace of Yeltsin, that doesn't matter, he was a politician. There are no more. Those remaining are opinion leaders and media personalities. There are some political businessmen as well. They know well that crossing a certain line is forbidden. There are three notional sandboxes nowadays: Khodorkovsky, Navalny, Kasparov. The things I'm saying won't make that so-called opposition give me a pat. They will curse me. Nevertheless, each of those sandboxes has its convention and unwritten rules. So I'm revealing some open secret. For say, those supporting Navalny stay out of Kasparov's sandbox and see some neglect from the opposite side. The members of Open Russia by Khodorkovsky have beef with Navalnyists, looking at Free Russia Forum by Kasparov distrustfully. Alexei, please understand, there are some sandboxes instead of an opposition. Those can't become an opposition. So if, for say, an opposition appears tomorrow, that sure won't come from those sandboxes. That will come from some unexpected side, from below. Yet, that will be live-born, original and hard one. Under one condition: unless the gangsters of Putin stab the society, gutting it, provoking bloody abortion beforehand. Unfortunately, such scenario seems more real nowadays than a burst of an opposition followed by its growing up and natural development that would result in some all-Russian Salvation Committee. Based on the logics of the ongoing events, I would rather believe in Putin's natural aging, as well as of his circle. That would be followed by the second round of the funeral run, and Russian territory moving to the league of waste yards, beefing among each other. As always, I urge you to stay out of anything rash and to take care of yourselves and of your close ones, as the moment will come when the collapse starts, and your presence on the streets, your power and your sanity will be much required. Take care of yourselves, of your hearts and souls. We'll meet soon. Goodbye.